with that, I think we can get started. So like I have written up here at the top, this is my adventure log. So this was like the last hidden goal of the bingo adventure, was to Yimo gave an example of written, but I asked him and he said just streaming and talking was okay as well, which is good because I don't have time to write as much as I would want to. I think it would take me much longer than just sort of powering through it here. But kind of a recap of just everything that you've done over the course of the month, your feelings about it, what you liked, what you didn't like, any feedback on the event as a whole, etc., etc. So we're gonna be kind of talking through this in classic tier list fashion, of course. I don't remember who actually made this. I think it was Shoehorse, maybe, who posted the link to it. Anyways, I think SG made one before this. I don't remember. Someone made it, so you know, as is tradition, we'll be kind of talking through these, instead of just like saying like, oh, this is A, this is S, this is B, whatever. You know, I'll be trying to focus more on talking about like specifically what I did first, and then I'll be ranking them based on how I feel about the category as a whole, or like how I feel about the category in this kind of event. Because kind of like, you know, like 30 for 30, I was picking most of what I did in this event. And so like, if I'm just ranking based on what I did, well, I liked most of what I did. So it's going to be a lot of really high scores, and that's going to be kind of a boring tier list. So I'll talk about what I did. If I have any strong feelings about I really like this or didn't like this, I'll bring it up. But then the ranking score is going to be more based on the category itself, and like after going through the event, how I feel about the category in an event like this. So, sound good? Sound good. I'll also be trying to keep an eye on desktop audio and make sure I don't get owned by this. This song was just happening. What happened? Completely owned by Shuffle, man. Whatever, what's next? We are on like a 4-song loop. Oh, this is off to a fantastic start. Okay. Now that all that good stuff's out of the way. Okay, I'll really be keeping an eye on it to make sure we don't get stuck in an infinite loop again. You know, I gotta come up with a better system than a YouTube playlist, but I'm so invested. The YouTube playlist has like 400 songs in it. Alright, let's hop to it. First thing on the list, we'll just go through as they're ordered, right? We got the bronze bingo categories first, and then gold bingo categories afterwards. So first thing on the list is Trash Game. The Trash Game that I played kind of later in the event. This was right before Christmas, was Legend of the River King for the Game Boy Color. I liked Legend of the River King. I thought it was pretty good. So I started this game initially during my 12-hour day, and like at the end of my 12-hour day, I was like 10 hours in or something like that, and I got completely lost. I had no idea what was going on. So it was, I was just put it down. I was like, I can't do this right now. I'm gonna go play Sports Trash because that is brainless and easy to understand, and then we'll just like come back with a guide. I like could not catch a fish, period. Like I didn't understand the fishing mechanic at all. So I went and I got some sleep, came back with clear eyes and a guide, and once you understand what to do, it's not a bad game at all. It's a Game Boy game, so it's not like overly complicated. It's not very long if you know where you're going. If you don't and you're just like going through the world and catching all the fish and whatever, like I'm sure there's a lot more depth to it. But for my purposes, I think it was knocked out in a couple of hours. Just, you know, again, having the guide, kind of following along with the speedrun. With the captain speedrun, actually, because this was a captain game, which was kind of cool. It was a fun surprise to, like, I just independently, without knowing, went to the speedrun board to try to figure out what was going on because the game facts guides weren't super helpful, and I was like, oh, I know that name. Let's pull up that run. So that was cool. I think for as far as trash game overall goes, there have been lots of memes made about the category lists as a whole. I think trash game is probably, like, out of the 3 lists, probably the best one because it's the biggest and there's the most variety there. I thought it was very interesting that there were basically, like, there was a delineation between the 2 kinds of games. There's, like, trash games, and then there's, like, good games, but they're just long, and so, like, you would view them as trash if they were given to you in an event, I think was the rationale given. It ended up being a lot of people independently, even like Spock did this yesterday, I think, of being like, hey, what do you mean this game's a trash game? Why is this game on the trash games list? So I think, you know, maybe a little bit better explaining on that would have helped to alleviate some of the heat that came off of it. But you know, I can't score trash game too highly because, like, you're never gonna want to play a trash game. That's why it's called a trash game, right? And as I kind of said in the 30 for 30 stuff, like, picking a game off of a list is not super interesting to me, because it's kind of the middle ground between, like, just let me pick anything I want or just tell me what I should be playing here. And so, you know, length of the list matters a little bit. We'll get into that with the good game category later. But I think overall, this was not a bad category. You know, this is like, any kind of just normal games list is probably going to have some game that you consider to be trash on it. It just, you know, it's a list of 10 plus games. That's the way it is. So for me, we're starting out with trash game and a B. I think, I don't remember if this song gets muted or not. Probably should skip it to be safe. Moving on. Next one is gold medal. So gold medal, what I did for gold medal was Neon White, which is a first-person shooter / platformer that came out a few years ago. Whatever year, it was like 2 or 3 years ago or something like that. It was one of my favorite games of the year that I played it. And I was really kind of stumped on what to do for this, because I don't play a lot of games that are IL kind of friendly or adjacent. But you know, just kind of going over it a little bit, trying to figure out, like, what I should play, what makes sense. And then I saw this come up in the Secret Santa for Giga, and I was like, oh yeah, this game rules. This would be a really fun game to get a good IL on. So I did the Clock Tower, which is the first boss level in the game. Actually, can I just pull up the clip? That seems a little self-indulgent to just, like, be like, oh, watch this sick run that I did, but it's probably easier than describing it. And this whole exercise is a little self-indulgent, so I think that's okay. Give me just a second. Okay. I think that's cropped all right. Yeah, I think that's fine. So in normal levels in Neon White, you have to kill all of the demons in a stage and then get to the exit. Because this is a boss level, it's a little different. You see Neon Green has a health bar here. You can shoot him whenever he doesn't have a shield up. When he puts a shield up, he puts out crystals that you have to break all the crystals, which then breaks his shield and lets you damage him. So basically, you're just trying to break the crystals as fast as possible. And then I shoot him at the beginning a couple of times in a couple of his like phases in the beginning while he's moving to just get some extra damage on him, which lets me skip a phase near the end. Oh, and then the other big thing is you got a sword that has 30 uses. So you'll see me slashing the sword whenever I've got free time, because whenever you use all your sword, then you have your fist, which has 8 uses. And after you use all of your fists, you just die. So the boss has like a death cutscene where he explodes, and you have to like watch the explosion, and it's long. If you trigger his death and then you die, then you lose the mission. It says failure on the screen because you've died, but the game registers that you killed the boss, so it clears the level and you don't have to watch that. So that's like kind of the skip that I'm doing at the end. I think those are the two kind of big pieces of tech. But anyways, here's my gold medal. Get stuck on the ledge there a little bit. That could have gone slightly better. And missed that shot there, unfortunately. But the rest of it goes very well. Get a nice bomb jump up here to skip having to climb the tower. And then normally he would like fly up to the very top, but since I'd done enough damage, you skip the phase. Let's go. That's huge. It's huge. All right. Very good. So that was my gold medal. Very happy to just play that game again. That's a combination of like shooting and just like focus on going fast. You might have seen at the end there, it like shows your timer. It puts you on like a global leaderboard and a friends leaderboard, and like it's just a very addictive game to like try to squeeze out better and better times. So it was very fun. I spent it was like an hour and a half maybe of grinding that out. I think I got like a couple of PBs over the course of that session. I think my initial PB was like a 50-second. Yeah, 50.15. And then I ended with a 43.64. So that was like a, what's that, like a 6.5 second increase or decrease. So very pleased with that overall. Like I said, while we were watching it, like it was, there were a couple of still little flubs in there I could have done a little better, and then there's like some different strats that you could use to bring it down like even a couple more seconds. So not a perfect run by any means, but one that I was very, very satisfied with. Now, all of that being said, this was this is a category that like I really liked what I did for the goal, but I'm not a huge fan of the category itself. I think it's just a little confusing on its face when you see gold medal. Like it doesn't really communicate what you're supposed to do at all. Like I know Yimo like talked about it in the stream and then wrote up like the more detailed explanation later, but like I think there was a lot of confusion about this, about like what qualifies. Is it actually, do you actually have to get a gold medal, or like, you know, what, like, is it just any kind of improved time? Does it have to be improving times by a certain amount, or like, you know, it's just not a very clear goal. And then also it's a little restrictive in like the games that you can play for it, because like I said, like I don't play a lot of games that are IL adjacent, or that focus on ILs. Like you can create an IL in any game by just like defining a start and an end point. I get that, but like, you know, it's more fun if it's something the game is defining for you. And outside of like racing games, which, spoiler alert, for my least like genre, I don't enjoy at all. As I know that's like a lot of people are doing Mario Karts or that kind of thing. It felt like if you didn't already have a game that kind of in your wheelhouse that fit this, you were really gonna have to stretch for something kind of weird. I know a couple of folks did like crosswords. I think that's an interesting approach. So like I guess maybe it's an issue of me not being creative enough with it, but overall, you know, this is not like bottom tier for me, but it's probably a C tier goal. I don't mind the idea of like get a PB in something, but I think it just takes some. It probably just needs a little more time in the oven. Okay, next is geography test. I did Europe for my geography test. This was one of the first things that I did. I don't think it was the very first thing, but it was probably the first thing that I streamed. I thought, very cool idea. I watched Yimo do the US states geography test a while back, and that was good content, and I thought this was too. I had watched somebody do Europe. Shoehorse, maybe? Maybe Shoehorse did it before me. Somebody. SG. I don't know. It was at the beginning of the month. But I watched somebody do Europe a little before me, so like, I already knew. I was more familiar with the like Western European countries as opposed to Eastern European countries, but I even just had some memory from watching somebody do it like the day before I did it or something like that. So this went better than I was expecting it to. Like, I'm not a geography person at all. I did not do well in geography in school because it always just felt like kind of straight up memorization to me. But I think I got this in like a handful of tries, 3-4 tries maybe. So not bad at all. I appreciate Shoehorse doing the provinces, but I also appreciated that he like went back to it multiple times to be like, I am confirming that I have learned this and not just like memorized it for the test. I did not have the mental fortitude to do that myself, but respect for that. As a goal, I think this was good. I think this was very good. It was good content. This was a mandatory stream goal, I believe, because it's like the whole point is to watch people doing it. And it delivered. It was always really fun. Also, I really appreciate that this kind of had choose your own difficulty options baked in. The only requirement was you cannot do the region where you are from, because it's, the one that you would know the most. And so, a lot of people went the South America route because it had the fewest countries. That's fine. If you really hate, especially with this being in Bronze Bingo, if you hate geography, if you're not a memorization kind of person, and you don't want to just like stream something and feel like you're just looking foolish while people are watching you or whatever, it's good that there was an easier option. If you are an insane person, the Spanish province is also an option. It's it would basically it would be starting from scratch for me, because I have heard of a few of them, but I could not place them on a map. So I'm glad that wasn't the mandatory one. I'll say that. But good category, very fun to watch people do it. I think it's an A for me. Okay, next is win a roguelike. So I'm going to talk about these two at the same time because I did a very similar thing for both of them. We're gonna break up the bingos here a little bit. I played Hades twice. Roguelikes are not a genre that I generally enjoy. There are some roguelikes that I do enjoy, like Hades, like FTL, which I also played in this event. Dead Cells is another one. But generally, the roguelikes that I enjoy, like, I enjoy them in spite of their roguelike qualities, not because of them. I just like, you're just repeating a lot of the same things over and over. You're like, it feels bad to like find an item or a build that you enjoy and then you don't get it on a run, and so then you just like, well, sorry, you're screwed this time, start over, try again. I know the theory is that like there's bunches of different options that you could do, and you want to like always be trying out new stuff because there's other good stuff around the corner, but like, I don't know, it just doesn't jive with me personally. So I was a little disappointed that there were two roguelike categories. Well, let me talk about what I did first before we talk categories. So I played Hades twice, on two different heat levels, which is Hades, like, once you beat the game, you can sort of add difficulty modifiers to add heat to subsequent runs. And so for this first category, for just win a roguelike, I think I did like a 12 heat run or something like that. And then for a harder roguelike, I did a 28 heat run, which is close to the max I've ever done. The max was for Discord Wars, so it was a 32 heat run. So 28 is like still up there. I think I was pretty satisfied with getting that in a couple of attempts. In retrospect, like, yeah, maybe I should have done a different roguelike, so I could have just like split these up. I could have done like One Step from Eden or something like that. But at the time, I started this event thinking I was just going to do Bronze Bingo. So I kind of just started with Hades and then ended up needing to do a harder roguelike and was just like, well, Hades is probably the one I'm the best at, so let's just do it again. So I'll take a little bit of that. And as part of this, I know this goal started life as something a little different. There was more of a focus on like multiplayer auto battle kind of thing, but it got revised, which I think is good. I think the initial wording on that category wasn't really the best, but we ended up in a place where it was just like win a roguelike and then win another roguelike, and that's unfortunate. So I'm gonna keep these paired together because in my mind they're kind of the same goal, and it's a little bad. Just like if I liked roguelikes, I would probably feel fine about playing two of them, but like because I generally don't, it feels a little bad to have two separate categories. So I think for me, again, I wouldn't go into D. You still have, you know, your fair share of options or whatever. So I think it's like okay, but I think we're going in C for both of these. All right, next is beat a good game. So the good game that I played was Kirby and the Amazing Mirror for the Game Boy Advance. This is a game that had been on my list for a long time. I really like Kirby games, and I have always heard, I've heard, like, Yimo has said this before, but I've also heard it from other people that like, oh, you like Kirby games, you like Metroidvanias, you should play Kirby and the Amazing Mirror. You would really like it. It's kind of a mix of those two things. And honestly, like, I didn't dislike the game. On my personal spreadsheet, I scored it a 3, which is average, run-of-the-mill, kind of, you know, not great, not awful. But I didn't love it either. I think part of it is probably that it just didn't live up to the hype that I would get from people. and I think I don't see the Metroidvania thing at all. Like, yes, there are areas to explore. It's got a terrible map system. It is so confusing to figure out like where doors go on the map, or like where you've been, and a lot of doors are one way, and so like if you accidentally go the wrong way, you've got to go all the way around to find an exit and then go back and try it again, and it's such a pain in the ass to get around. And then there's no like progressive upgrades or anything, because it's a Kirby game, so it's just like the same copy abilities that you would get in any other Kirby game. But it is still a Kirby game. It was fun. I think I played it without a guide for the first like hour or so, and then gave up on that and was like, I need like a map guide, whatever you can do to help me like figure my way through here, so I'm not just getting lost and retracing my steps all the time. It was a good decision. I think that kind of saved it and let me get through it in like, I think it was about 4 hours instead of like 8 or 9 or 10 hours, or more. You might still be playing it to this day otherwise. So I think like I said, it is still a Kirby game. I did not have a bad time playing it, but I think it might have been done a disservice by all the pre-playthrough hype that I had heard about it. One other thing, I don't think I said this when I was talking about Trash Game. I am happy for my own personal experience that I picked new games for both Trash and Good Game. I think there were Metroid games for both of them, right? Super Metroid was in this category, and Metroid Fusion was in this. I played Super Metroid for this, but then died to Mother Brain, like completely shut off my own brain and just ran into her too much, so I didn't have enough health to like survive the final attack. And hadn't saved, of course, because why would you save? And so I was just like, oh, forget it, we'll come back to it. So that was good. I ended up playing something different. I think it was more fun for me to experience new games than just kind of play the same old that I knew I could get through relatively quickly or whatever. So talked about, picking games from lists already a little bit with Trash Game. A Good Game falls into that as well. I think whereas a lot of the Trash Game discussion was about like, I can't believe this is a Trash Game, all the Good Game discussion was like, why are there only like 3 games on the Good Game list? Which, it's fair. It was a much shorter list than all the other ones, but like, there's only gonna be so many good games, right? The bigger issue, I don't have an issue with you saying like there are only so many good games. That's fine. The issue is that like Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, if I went back and played it again, having knowledge of the game, I could get through it much quicker. If I had played Super Metroid, a game that I have knowledge of, I could get through that game very quickly. If somebody who didn't have knowledge of Super Metroid just sat down for a blind playthrough, that's a long game. That's a difficult game. They probably don't walk away from that in this kind of setting being like, oh wow, what a good game, right? Same thing that I thought about Kirby. So like, I think a lot of the what makes it a good game in the context of an event is that it's like fun to play and not too long to get through, but that's like completely reliant on your own prior experience with the game. So especially if you've got a short list to work with and you don't have experience with like any of those games, then you're kind of just out of luck. So that's where like not picking from a list, and in particular picking from a short list, can kind of hurt you. So I think like beat a good game on its face is a good goal, right? Like, sure, you want people to play good games, 100%. I think I do knock it a little bit because of what I was just talking about. There are just issues with like having that particular list of shorter list of games. Is that like, if your category or if your criteria for it being a good game is something that's like quick and easy to get through, like it needs to be stuff that's actually quick and easy to get through, even if you don't know the game already, in my opinion. So I think I would give this a B. I think if it was cooked a little longer, I would score it higher than Trash Game, just because you know, good games are better than trash games, right? But within the event, I think just these two goals on their face, I think they ended up being very similar to me. I'll go ahead and talk about lifelines here as well, because I rolled lifelines. One of them was Metroid Fusion. If I needed to, that would have been a very easy random trash game to beat. But I ended up just doing all of the regular goals. I think the lifelines were good. A lot of people used them, which I think is a sign that like that's a system that works. I've talked about before in like Gamerade and Use BS and 30 for 30 also, you can play an extra elite game. All these events have systems where like if you see something you're just like, there's no way in hell I'm doing this, like there's a path for you to not do it. I think that's good. And I think, you know, the systems in place, random trash game, that's fine. If you get really unlucky, it's unfortunate, right? If you get something like, I think that's where having the delineation between good games and like long good games and just bad games is tough, because like Shoehorse Rolled Super Mario RPG, sure, it's long, but like you play through that in a heartbeat, right? Compare that to playing like Sub-Zero and you're just struggling and having an awful time. That's a little bit unfortunate. But with a bigger list, unless the list is like really bad, the odds of you getting something really, really bad are just much lower, right? So I think, you know, at the end of the day, I think that's okay. And then having two choices from the nuclear, one that you just pick and then one that you roll, is fine. If you're rolling a nuclear game and playing it, you either got really lucky with your roll or you are desperate. And I think either way, that's kind of funny. So I think 3 lifelines for this board setup is plenty. Like if you're trying to skip more than 3 things, then I don't know. I could be, you know, you could talk me into a very specific combination of 4 maybe, but overall I think that's fine. Oh, coughing break. Hang on one second. Okay, we're back. This is not going to be good for my throat in the long run, I feel. But that's okay. We're going to power through it. Okay. Next is participate in a race. So I participated in 2 races. I think it was just 2. They were both Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine for N64 Mania. Oh, what a bad game. Early petition to put that in future nuclear lists, by the way. You heard it here first. Sadly, so we finished the first race and I was like, oh, that game was really bad. I never want to play it again. And then Spock was like, next week, we're playing it again. And that race was even more of a blow up because we only beat 1 level in week 2. And it was my own fault because I didn't, well, it was partially my fault because I didn't notice what the game wanted me to do, but also like the game did a really bad job of telling me what it wanted me to do. So I felt really bad about that. And then like the next day I was just, the Infernal Machine had kind of latched into my brain and I was like, damn it, I'm gonna have to like come back and like actually beat this game, right? And I was feeling like really strongly about coming back to it. And then I just, you know, got busy with all of this stuff and didn't come back to it. And like, I feel like I've kind of broken that hold that it had on my brain. But also I kind of want to come back to it in January. So we'll see. Maybe if I break it down and just stream like a level at a time, it won't be that bad. Certainly I would be more open to using a guide or whatever in the future, but like, that game sucks, man. That game really sucks. But the races were fun. It was good to be in a call, suffering together with friends. You know, very, very old school N64 Mania feeling in that regard. I think participate in a race as a goal is fantastic. Doesn't get better. You're gonna probably, I'm gonna say this about a lot of especially the gold bingo goals, but it felt like a big theme of this event was trying to get people to play games collaboratively, and participate in a race is a great one for that. You know, it's you don't have to host the race, you don't have to give the idea for the race, you just have to say like, hey, I need to do a race, we're looping music again. Fantastic. How does it keep happening? Can I tweak it up just enough? Okay, perfect. Yeah, no, I think races are fantastic. You know, as someone who has been in a weekly race for however long N64 Mania's been going on, and then even before that, I did Super Metroid weeklies on Friday nights. So it's a good time. It's also the kind of thing where I think even if you missed out, like, I can understand if you feel like everybody else has already done this goal and you haven't, to be like, how, like, you can't do a race just by yourself, right? Like, you need somebody else. But I think it's the kind of thing where you could just post like in general chat and be like, hey, I haven't done my race goal, is there something short and quick that like anybody would want to race me in anything? I don't think it would have to be like a traditional video. Like, I would have to go look at the wording on the category, but like, you could do like, you know, a crossword race or I don't know. I think you get creative with it. But even though the actual game that I raced this month, I hate so much, racing, easy S. Easy S. Okay, next is Event Archipelago. So the game that I played for the Archipelago was Yacht Dice, which is essentially just an Archipelago version of Yahtzee, the dice rolling game. I had not heard of it before. I was kind of scrolling through the list to see what I could do that wasn't just Super Metroid again, or like Mega Man Battle Network, or, you know, something that I had already done in Archipelagos before. I think this was like fairly new to be released. But it was really, really fun. It was easy, it was simple, but it was very fun. So the upgrades in your game are basically like you unlock new categories for you to score points in. You start out with just like one or two, and you get additional ones sent to you. And then also, like, there's multiple versions of each upgrade in the item pool. So like in Ocarina of Time Randomizer, there's like 2 hook shots, right? And the first one you find is just always the hook shot, and the second one you find is always the long shot. In Yacht Dice, there's like, say, 2 full houses in your item pool. The first one you find lets you score points off of getting a full house. The second one gives you double points for scoring a full house. So like, it incentivizes you, the more doubles that you find, you want to like specifically get more, like go for higher points in those. So your strategy kind of changes with the more upgrades that you find, which was pretty cool. You can also find additional dice. You start with like 2 dice and 1 roll, and you can find like additional dice shards. So like you find 4 dice shards, it gives you an extra dice, and then additional re-rolls as well. And then just as far as you sending items to other people, it's just at like point thresholds. So like, you set your goal points. I think the default was like 800, and I set 900 for mine. And then just at every so often in point intervals, there's more of them early on. early on it's like every like 5 or 10 points you'll send an item to somebody, and then like later on it's every like 50 points or something like that. And then other than that, it's just Yahtzee. It's just rolling dice. The game does tell you kind of what you're, based on all the unlocks you have right now, this is kind of your theoretical maximum points. So it's fun to like log on, be in the chat room with folks, and just kind of roll dice. Even when I would have to like, there are times when I would have to roll basically perfectly to get like the next unlock for somebody or something until somebody else sent me a new thing. You know, it doesn't cost you anything but time to just click the roll dice button. So it was just fun to do. Highly recommend. As you know, maybe it shouldn't be like your only archipelago game, but like as a side game or something to be doing in the background. It was fun. On the whole, I'm not a huge archipelago person just because I'm not a huge randomizer person. I've done a few of them, a few archipelagos. I've done randomizers of a few games. I think archipelagos suffer a little bit because it's also a limited game pool, right? Like if you sign up to play an archipelago of like a game that you're not super familiar with, you're probably gonna have a bad time. So I think your average person just looking at the list of archipelago games is like, which is why I think, having something like Yacht Dice that you don't need any experience for is good. But like, even for me, like there's not a whole lot of games on that list that like I would feel comfortable with like holding other people's items hostage in. And if you get unlucky and you have like important progression items for other people like late in your game, doing an async archipelago like this can just make that feel bad. Also, I don't think it ended up being an issue because like a lot of people joined it, even people who weren't like going further with the bingo. But like, I think because there was a disclaimer that like you could do another archipelago if you like missed the sign up or whatever, but like it's a little bit of an issue of like, if you joined late or something and this was already going on, it would be very easy to feel like you were kind of locked out of this. Again, that part didn't end up being an issue for this specifically, but it is a potential consideration when you're making goals for things like this. I think I would put this in a C as well. I get that this looks a little bit negative right now, but trust me, we're gonna pick it up in the gold bingo for sure. Oh, this was a song from the last Power Hour. I was like, why does this sound so familiar? Well, I submitted it, but you understand. Sorry, I'm just gonna keep referencing the fact that I don't feel good. That's gonna be my excuse for every dumb thing that I say out loud. Okay. Win 3 multiplayer matches. This was the very first thing that I did. I was playing Final Fantasy 14 for my MMO. Spoiler alert. Win 3 multiplayer matches. I did Crystalline Conflict, which is the small scale PvP mode in Final Fantasy 14. It's teams of 5v5, and it's a push the cart game, the same that you would find in like Team Fortress 2 or Overwatch or that kind of thing. Yo, what's up, Yemo? Enjoy your dinner. Happy New Year. Make a podcast with me? Absolutely. You got it, boss. Also, shout out to the VOD watchers. See you soon. So I don't like super enjoy MMO PvP, so I don't really know why I did this, but I was like already just playing FF14 that day. I was just like, oh sure, let's queue up. How hard can it be? We found some funny usernames, which was good for the screenshots. Um, but this was good. I like this. I like this idea as a category for sure. I think winning 3 matches is like not super difficult. Like, you've got a month to do this. Even if you're not a multiplayer gamer at all, you can find something that you can win 3 games in. Even if it's like just making a new account and like smurfing in a game, or like, you know, like just in make your new Fortnite account or whatever, where it's just bots who like don't even shoot or something, you know, like you can find something to win 3 matches in. So I don't think it's particularly difficult. You can also play with other people. I think it was kind of, I don't think it was even like explicitly stated. It was like an honor system of like, don't just get carried by somebody, you know, be an active participant. But certainly, right? Like, again, part of this was collaborating with other people, do a collab, right? Like, you could work something out with this, I think. So I think this is really good. I in all of the events that we've done so far, I don't know. Rio had super auto pets in the last gamer raid, but I think that's been like the only other like specifically multiplayer component. I know SG did like I think it was last year for 30 for 30, did like the lead up, the pre 30 for 30, where there were a couple of multiplayer events. But yeah, this was very cool. Big fan. This was an A for me. Next is do a collab. So the collab that I did this was pretty early in the event as well. We did Helldivers 2 with Spock and Crazy for Bacon, which was a great time. I loved Helldivers. Multiplayer game that came out this year, and it's just fun to play. It's been a very long time since I've played like a new release multiplayer focused game. Admittedly, it's PvE, it's not PvP, but like since I have had this much fun, like we played a ton of this with both with that group, and then also I have some IRL friends who've played it, who got really into it, and like just earlier this year played so much of it. And then, you know, kind of fell off as new games tend to do. It becomes less flavor of the month or whatever. But very fun to go back to it. I do regret later in December, like a week later or something, at the Jeff Awards, they announced like a new expansion was releasing that day. And so, you know, there was no way to know, but I would have waited until the new content came out to do the Helldivers collab. I played some of it last night and it was a super good time. But this was still really good. There were a lot of funny clips, just funny moments. Crazy was streaming some Power Hour stuff, so unfortunately the VOD got a little bit nuked. But it was, I think my favorite one, it's from my point of view, so you don't see anything that's happening with Spock. You just hear him, like, he throws down a turret and he's like, oh, that turret's in a good place. It's also kind of in a good place to kill me, and like he doesn't even finish saying that before just like the skull, the death icon appears on screen. It's like, a teammate has died, and he was just like, oh, come the fuck on. It was really, really good. But yeah, so this is so talking about the category itself. The one knock, and I'll just go ahead and say this now because I would bring it up otherwise, is that it's very, in my mind at least, it's very similar to organize an event. I know, like, you can just participate in a collab, you don't have to organize it, but like other than that, it was very, you know, these weren't on the same bingo board, so it's differentiated a little bit, but like I organized the Helldivers collab, so like technically I did both of these. I counted something else for my organize an event later on, but like it was very difficult to kind of like parse that difference, or like what should I count this as, or you know. I think overall with the event there was like a little bit of confusion with the synergy. Like some things were explicitly synergized with each other, some things were explicitly not synergized, and then there was a lot of stuff that was just kind of in the gray area in the middle of like what's allowed, what's encouraged. Like some stuff was like, hint hint, you could use this collab as an event, or like, you know, I don't know. as an event participant, I think the fact that like some stuff was explicitly stated and some stuff was explicitly not stated, like added some confusion there. But on the whole, this is a fantastic goal. Definitely up there with race for me. It's freedom to do anything, right? There were some gaming collabs, there were some talking collabs. I don't know if it ever happened. I know Yimo said that he was planning to do a talking stream with Riho about people's 30 for 30 lists. I need to go and check if that happened, because I was very interested in seeing that. I don't think it did. I never heard about it, but if it hasn't, I hope that it still does. But having the freedom to do whatever you want and just grab some buds. I think it didn't even need to necessarily be people from the event, although I think everybody kind of did. So maybe some were like people with the event and other people as well. But good. It's getting friends to do stuff together, and like I said, that feels like kind of the theme. You're gonna see a lot of the things that I rate highly in here are things that just involve getting buds to do stuff together, because that feels like kind of the overall intention. Let's take another sip of tea. Actually, if you will pardon me for a second, I'm gonna pour some more water in this so I can not run out, since we've made it through the bronze bingo as a whole. It's not quite halfway because gold bingo's longer, but it's good. This has almost been an hour. Holy cow, I need to pick up the pace a little bit. Also, probably need to make sure I haven't got any emails from work. Yeah, give me like 2 minutes. Be right back. We're still in the clear. That would have been awkward if, like, just like, okay, this was part one. Gotta cut stream. Somebody needs me. I can't imagine. You know, it's New Year's Eve and nobody's working. Okay. On to the gold bingo. So, banger? Quiet banger? That just means the next song is going to be super loud. Sorry in advance. Okay, full clear bronze bingo. I don't have a lot to say here. I think this is fine as like this bingo board was a 4x4, so there wasn't like a center space, but this could have been a cute just like free space, you know, center space for the free space in bingo. I think it's fine. Like, you know, this was good to make sure that people didn't just try to do the gold. And then also, you know, to just like have people work on it concurrently or whatever. It's also just good if you needed like an extra square to kind of fill up the board or something. You know, I don't know that that's the case, but certainly gets the job done. So, I don't have like overwhelmingly positive feeling. I think we'll just put that in the middle of the road. I think that's fine. Secret Santa game, for me, I had Crazy for Bacon, which is actually not the first time I have had him as my Santa. It was a couple of years ago. He gave me Super Mario RPG, not knowing that that was my favorite game, which was very funny. Always happy to play it again, of course. But this time he gave me Demon's Crest, which is a Capcom game for the SNES. It's like adjacent to Super Ghouls and Ghosts. You play as like one of the mini bosses, a little red demon guy named Firebrand. Notably not as difficult as Super Ghouls and Ghosts. Very cool game. I had a great time with it. It's not a huge amount of game. There's only like 5 or 6 levels to it or something like that, but you have you find like different abilities and power-ups, different demon forms that let you do different things, and so you're encouraged to go revisit those earlier levels with your new abilities, so you can go down different pathways. There's like hidden upgrades, there's different like there's multiple bosses in every stage, different exits, and all that kind of stuff. Is a really, really fun game. Had a very funny experience. I accidentally got the bad ending, which you're finding like 6 crests or whatever. That's the overall goal of the game. After you get the second crest, the final boss level just appears on the map. And then after you get your third crest, if you don't go to the final boss, it disappears from the map, which is kind of funny. But like, if you go there after your second crest, which I did because I was just like, oh, a new area, let's go see it. Like, the final boss is just there, hanging out, and he's like surprised to see you. He's like, wait, you're not supposed to be here yet. And then you beat him, and then he like tries to use his crest to like summon the ultimate power or something, and then he's just like, oh, I didn't have enough time. It isn't working. And then he just dies and the game ends. And you just get credits. So you're not supposed to go there yet. You're supposed to go do all the other levels first and then get all the crests or whatever. I actually had to look up a password to like start me back before, like with 2 crests, but before the final boss, because it doesn't give you a password for that otherwise. Which was very funny. But very fun game, very fun game. I after getting the bad ending, I went and got the good ending, and then there's after the good ending, you get a password for the true ending, which requires an additional boss fight. And I tried that guy out, and he was impossible. He was like, I stocked up on potions or whatever. Even eventually, once I was just kind of giving up on it, like made a save state right outside the boss, and like multiple tries, like he was just not showing any signs of dying. So we gave up on that, but got the bad end and the good end, so felt good about that. Secret Santa is good. I've done it for a few years now, and it's always a good time. Always fun to give games that you think people will enjoy, and then also to get games. I've had good experiences with. I think this is my 3rd year doing it. Everything I've played has been good. So I feel good about this. The one thing that I will say, because this is a Spock runs the Secret Santa from his Discord, has for a few years now. So I don't think this really ended up being the case, but I can see a world where, like, if you are a friend of YMO or a viewer of YMO and you like see this event and you're like, oh yeah, you know, I'd like to participate in that. Oh, but I don't know this Spock guy. Do I really want to like join somebody I don't know's Discord? And like, Secret Santa is kind of a personal thing. Like, you know, you can give any game to anybody. You don't need to even put thought into it. But like, if you're really like doing it, you know, you want to give a game that like you think that person will enjoy. And so like, if you feel like you're kind of an outsider and you don't know the people that well, then, you know, it can be a little intimidating for sure, you know. And that's what lifelines are for. If you really just look at this as a roadblock and you don't want to do it, you certainly could have lifelined it. But just, you know, something to think about in the future for this. Like I said, don't think it came up in this at all, because I think like basically everybody joined it, and I think by and large people had some good experiences with it. So for me, Secret Santa would go an A. It's just fun. Happy to see it be a part of something like this, because it is a good time. Next is write a guide. So I wrote a guide for Super Metroid. Well, I streamed a guide, and then I wrote a sort of supplement that had some screenshots and that kind of thing. For the first 2 bosses, just in case anyone wanted to use it for their friendathon, but also just, it was a very fun thing to do. You know, I'm not like an expert speedrunner of the game by any means, but I do have a lot of knowledge kicking around, so it was fun to try to present that in a format that I was aiming, if you were a true beginner, that might be easier to parse than just like searching for like the world record holder's speedrun guide or something like that. Captain did use it, I think. Captain did a little bit of Super Metroid in his friendathon. After watching, Captain did a fantastic job. It is not an easy game at all, and so I was really just tickled that the guide was used at all. But after watching it and hearing some of the things they said and some of the things they struggled with, it made me reflect on what I had done. And there absolutely is like stuff that I could have been more direct on and like beginner friendly on, beginner focused on. There was the first mini boss, like Captain got hit by an attack that I honestly wasn't aware that the boss could do, because it's been a long time since I've seen it, so I didn't talk about it at all. And it happened, and Captain was like, I don't know what to do here, and I was like, oh shoot, I don't know what you should do there either. So like it was fun to do, and then it was fun to watch it get used. There were pieces of it that Captain did very well, and so like being like, oh yeah, like they learned it from the guide and they did it, you know, falling down, counting the 6 platforms as they're going around. Like that's super cool to see. It was very fun to see. And then also it was like, okay, but like you could also like, you could have done a better job with this. It gave me a lot of respect for people who do write and record these tutorials. Recording especially, like if you write a tutorial, you can go back and edit it, add more info or whatever. If you're just recording a VOD or something, like you kind of just have to do it in the one take unless you're editing it together. So was cool to see. I really enjoyed this, and I thought it was really cool to see what other people were writing as well. There were a lot of different like game guides and that kind of thing. I think I saw this morning SG kind of wrote a dissertation about HoloLive and the year that they had, which was cool. It was just not the kind of thing that you would usually see in events like this, and it inspires creativity. It's something that gets people to talk about things that they know about, right? Because you're not going to write a guide about something you don't know. So very cool to just like, everybody's got something that they know, something they're good at. It doesn't have to be games, right? You could make a guide about cooking the perfect steak or something like that if that's your thing. So like, very cool. Excellent goal. For me, it's an A. Unfinished business. Oh man. So I played Metroid Prime Hunters for the Nintendo DS, and boy, that game was not good. We'll go ahead and spoil a latecomer, a late addition to my bottom 5 games of the list, bottom 5 games of the year list. It was I owned this for the DS. Like I own a cart of it, and quit it like after beating the first level, because I was just like, oh, this game's not fun. But it's a Metroid game, and I've been on a kick. You know, I play a whole bunch of games, but like part of that endeavor is like trying to close out series of games that I really enjoy and games that I play a lot of. So like I'm working my way through the Mega Man series. I'm working my way through the Castlevania series. Metroid is of course one of those as well. and that includes playing the bad games as well as the good ones. I was very satisfied with coming back and gutting my way through it. Demented control scheme. I know that there are a couple of options of the controls. None of them seemed any better than the others. But basically, the way that it works on the DS is that your left hand is on the D-pad, moving forward and backwards, strafing left and right, and then your right hand is on the stylus, and you're dragging on the touchscreen to make Samus look in whatever direction you're dragging. And then like anything else is and then you shoot with the left trigger, which, so your left hand is on the D-pad, right? That it's a little weird to shoot with L, but given the control scheme, it makes sense. Anything else is done by tapping specific places on the touchscreen. So like Borf Ball is in the bottom right, switching your weapons is in the top, scan visor is at the bottom. If it sounds like, if you're constantly dragging your stylus everywhere and like tapping stuff, like, aren't you probably just gonna accidentally tap a whole bunch of stuff that you don't want to? The answer is yes. Yes, you will, all the time. It's not very good. Also, you might be thinking, don't you like jump in Metroid games? How do you do that? Well, simple. You just double tap the stylus. It's so painful. I was playing on emulator, which meant that I had my left hand was holding the left side of an Xbox controller, and my right hand was on my mouse, clicking and dragging on the touch screen. It was so awkward. And they wanted you to like do precision shooting with this. Like it is way more of a shooter. Like I cut my teeth on the Nintendo Metroid forum back in like, I don't know, this would have been like 2004 or something. Early online experience for Pop-Tart Cat. And this was like right when Metroid Prime came out, and it was like a big deal that like Metroid Prime was a first-person adventure game and not a first-person shooter. Because if it was a first-person shooter, you would have to compare it to Halo, and it would not have compared well to Halo. At the time, of course, right? So it was an adventure game, but like Hunters is specifically a shooter. It's like a shooter. It tells you when you get headshots on enemies. There's an online multiplayer component. Like, it is a first-person shooter that they designed with touchscreen controls on a handheld platform. And like, I think they did the best they could with that, but like, it's a losing battle from the start. Also, there are 8 shards that you have to collect over the course of the game, which can be stolen from you by the AI enemies, and you have to like track them down to go get them. Insane behavior. And then also, who will just randomly appear on any planet. Luckily, you can just sort of re-roll who's on the planet by like going to a planet and coming back. So like, I just avoided them all by constantly reloading planets until I just got no enemies on the planet I was going to. And then there's a boss for each of these 8 things that you're collecting, except there are only 2 bosses that you have to fight 4 different versions of. It's just like an exercise in uncreativity. Also, there's escape sequences after every single boss. It's like you put some suit in charge of this, and he was just like, oh, what are these Metroid idiots like? Oh, that's right. They like escape sequences. Let's give them a ton of them. Oh, man. Terrible game, but good to knock it out. I was very glad that this game gave me the, or this event gave me the reason to go back to it. So I do think this is a good goal. You give up on games for lots of reasons. It doesn't have to be that you hated a game and stopped playing it. It could just be that you picked up something else, or that you got distracted by a different game, or, you know, you had life stuff come up and you just didn't think about it when you came back or whatever. So I think this is a really good goal to be like, hey, everybody's got something that you dropped for some reason or another. Get back to it and knock it out. I think that's very cool. To me, it's an A. It's an A. Alright, satisfying grind for me was 10 golden pigs. I ended up getting more than that later on, but this was part of Shoehorse's pig event, so I wanted to go help a buddy out. And then also, I didn't really know what to do for this, to be quite honest with you, so I was happy to have the opportunity. So at the beginning of that stream, because one of the things was you have to specifically call your shot. You can't just be like, oh, retroactively, that was so satisfying. So I called my shot of 10 pigs, got 10 pigs, and then like got some more later on for Friendathon or whatever. But the pig event was fun. It was very fun to participate in. Just hanging out on a call. We had some good laughs. I'm glad that that VOD is there. That could be a fun one to just go back to at some point and be like, you know, look at how happy they were. They were just hanging out talking about pig centric events. It was a good afternoon for sure. That being said, I don't like this goal. I think Yemo even said in the description that this was the RuneScape goal, right? So like, if you don't play a game where like I know that like there was an addendum. This was changed, right? This was originally specifically get a good item or a cosmically rare item. It was changed to be a grind so it could be skill based instead of luck based or whatever. But like you already had like grind out a good time as a goal. So like this is kind of like, it's kind of more of the same. If you don't play a game where like grinding for rare items is the point, like sure, you could load up any RPG and just be like, I'm gonna grind for this 1 out of 100 drop or something like that. But like, I know RuneScape gamers are just built different, and I am not built that way. I understand that. I found that out when I played 2009 Scape earlier this year and did not love it. I know it's not the same as OSR, whatever. RuneScape gamers stay molding in the comments. But just like, this feels very much like if you don't already play something where grinding is the point, I'm telling you to do something you hate. I'm telling you to do something you absolutely hate. If Golden Pigs had not been here, I guess I could have, like, I don't know, done another skill grind or something like that. But like, I have big problems with this goal organizationally. It's a bottom tier one for me. I don't get the grind. Okay, keeping it moving. We're pairing these two together because I paired them together when I did them. So my event was to challenge the gym boss, but I liked the idea so much that I opened it up, and I was very happy that I did, because we got a couple of people. So it was a mystery fighting game tournament. It was so using a platform called Fightcade, which lets you play against people on ROMs of old games. And we went to the fighting games category on Fightcade. We rolled a random number, and we used that number to pick what game we were playing. And you do a best of 3. And we started out by just doing a kind of warm-up round robin, get everybody to learn how to use Fightcade and get games in there. Which, if I had known that would be so much of an issue, I would have written a guide on it or something, you know, prepared. I prepared more resources. Part of this was like, we did this the day I got back from Christmas vacation, and so it was, I didn't have a ton of time to like get stuff ready. Also, my go-to excuse here is I've just, you know, I've not been feeling good. But also, in my defense, when I talked to Yemo about this during the Pigs Day, I was like, hey, are you familiar with Fightcade? And he was like, yeah, I know. And I was like, okay, great. That's what we're doing. And then the day of happened, and then Yemo hopped in the call, and he's like, okay, what do I need to download? Like, well. So, in my defense, I didn't know. I didn't know that everyone was unfamiliar. But I should have assumed that, because I was unfamiliar before I downloaded Fightcade for Rio's for Gamerade. We did The Simpsons on Fightcade. Sorry, I'm down here. So despite some of the setup hiccups, we kind of pivoted to only playing arcade fighting games, which narrowed the list down a little bit. but kept some of the really janky stuff in there, which is what I wanted. And then also let us like, it just simplified the process. And so we were able to like cycle through games much faster. And I think overall the event went super well. It was super fun. It was almost exactly what I was envisioning. Like we got a couple of like genuinely good games, and then we got a lot of just like trash and ROM hacks and like weird stuff. After the event, me and Crazy played a few more, and we got like this just terrible, like almost live action looking Jackie Chan game where there were like 3 of the characters were just Jackie Chan in different outfits. And it was so bad. But in a good way, So we ended up doing a tournament. And so I challenged the gym boss in the tournament. I rigged the bracket so me and Yemo fought in round 1. It was... the one thing I will say about the tournament format is that it was a little bit limiting. So in my mind, if we had had enough people, there were 4 people, I should say. It was me and Yemo and Spock and Crazy for Bacon who played. In my mind, if we had had more people, I was envisioning kind of pairing off, maybe hopping into a different voice chat or something, and like not just having to wait your turn. But I think in the grand scheme of things, people wanted to watch the other janky fighting games. And especially with 4 people, like you weren't waiting too long between matches or that kind of thing. So like, I think that ended up being okay. The one thing I will say is that limiting it to a tournament bracket, although the tournament bracket was very fun and had some very hype moments. Me and Spock played a robot fighting game, which was not very good. But he had me red, and then I had to like just play super turtled up and like chipped my way back into it, which was fun. It was very difficult if you had to be there basically at the beginning of the tournament format. I know there were a couple of people who even like, there were a lot of people who just watched, which was fun to do in front of an audience for sure. But then a couple of people even joined the call. I think DTW did and Shoehorse did at one point, but like weren't there for the start of the tournament. So like you can't like, well, you can't work somebody into a bracket that's already happening, right? Like I think it's on me. I should have planned it better, knowing that like this is just on a random like Friday evening or afternoon or whatever. So like, of course, people are probably going to be jumping in and out. You probably should pick a format that is more conducive to like just playing some games, you know? But I think overall it was a blast. This tournament was probably the highlight of the event for me. The collab was also really good. Had a really, really good time. I was very happy that people showed up for it, and seemed to have fun with it. So you can probably tell by how much I'm gushing about it that this is an S for me as well. I talked about the sort of the weird overlap for me between these two. But even with that, I think, I think if you are someone who is, again, kind of like I talked about with Secret Santa, if you are not as familiar with community members, or if you're just like hopping in to maybe kind of try it out, but you don't know people, or you're a little shy or something, like, maybe this is not going to be super easy for you to just like post something and like see who shows up, or post something and worry about like, well, what if nobody shows up? Or even with mine, I was more like, I knew that this was probably the kind of thing that a couple of people would be interested in, but like, how do you know what times work for people? Or like if somebody's busy, the holidays are around here, so what if somebody really wants to join but they can't, and like, all that kind of thing. But again, lifelines exist if you don't want to do something or don't feel comfortable doing something. I think this is a great goal to have. Again, getting people to do stuff together. It's a good time. So no need to talk about what I did for this. I will, my pride dictates that I say I did beat Yemo in the Gym Boss Challenge, that I was able to get lucky. A lot of people said that, Yemo outlucked them in their challenges. I outlucked Yemo in drawing a game that I had not played before, but just adapted to. think this was good. This is also an S for me. I'm not ranking this as tied to this. I'm ranking it, you know, as its own independent thing. But I think this is a really, really cool idea. I think overall, this is the kind of thing. This was the standout. I think this was in the Pokemon games. This was like the only good things. This was one of the best things, we'll say, about the Pokemon games was the Gym Boss Challenge. I think it's just super cool to say, you know, this was a little different. In the Pokemon games, the Gym Bosses gave you a list of things to challenge them in, and it was things where they were probably going to have the advantage. Yimo took the Chad route of just being like, challenge me in anything. Bring it on. Whatever you got, bring it on. I think that was great. You know, it does add a little bit of like you want it to be honorable. You don't want to just like, sure, I could challenge Jimmo to a Super Metroid race and like see who wins, haha. But like, you know, you want it to be something equitable or something where there's at least a fighting chance or something. But I think it's great, right? Like, bring me your challenge. Whatever you want to do, I'll do it, right? And I don't think it even needed to be limited to video games either, although certainly that's the easiest thing to do. Love this. This was great. This was great. It was fun to watch a bunch of the challenges. It was fun to come up with my own and do it. Big fan. Big fan. All right. Off break. 1 second. All right, we're back. Oh man, what a mess. Okay. Beat a game from your least liked genre. True fans of twitch.tv/PopTartCat will know it's racing games. Easy pick. Easy pick. I picked specifically Cruisin' USA, so knowing that it was going to be racing games, I wanted something that would be as quick and painless as possible. I did not want to pick something hard. I did not want to pick something long. I liked that we kind of had freedom in this goal. To, you know, you could try to pick something quote unquote good from that genre to maybe try to change your mind on the genre a little bit. And certainly, you know, there are some racing games that I enjoy. Cruisin' is not a racing game that I dislike. It's just, you know, at the end of the day, it's still a hold A racing game, so I don't love it. But it's also got good tunes and all that, so it was good. I had a good time. Worked this in. This was in my 12-hour day. Not a lot to say about what I did. You know, Cruisin's a very short game. You just have to win every race, and if you lose, you just try the race again. I did not first try every race, but it was most of them. I think I only had to restart a couple. Yeah, it was a pretty good time. As a category, I think this is... So I like the idea behind this category a lot. I like the idea of, like, you still have choice, right? I'm not telling you to play this awful game from your least favorite genre. So you can pick, right? You can set the degree of difficulty. I saw today Djibouti did this goal and did Banjo-Kazooie, so I'm guessing it was like 3D platformers or collectathons or something, and like, that's a long game to pick for your least liked genre. I'm hoping that Djibouti at least likes the game, if not the genre, because I don't like that game, and boy, that sounds miserable to me. But you know, you only have yourself to blame if that's the route you take. So having the freedom is good, but I think also I saw, I think multiple people hammered this because like their least liked genre was like a JRPG, and so, you know, even a short JRPG is like 10 hours or something like that, and that's just more time than I want to invest, right? So like, I get that. I kind of lucked out that my least like genre had a game I was able to just get through so quickly. Also, people hate genres. It's kind of fair that they would just want to skip it, right? Like in a vacuum, I think this makes a lot of sense to be a skipped game. And so like, as long as you have the ability to skip games, I don't think it's a bad thing for people to use skips, right? I don't think it like fails as a category because people didn't want to do it. Because plenty of other people did. I watched SG play a weird male VTuber Fire Emblem knockoff game or something that like the game looked really bad, but you can't argue that it was in his least favorites, so more power to him. So I don't think this, like, I'm not gonna score this badly because people didn't want to do it, but I also don't think I can rate it like super highly either. I think it goes in a B for me. Yeah, I think that's fine. 10 game platforms. Let me pull up the list. So for 10 game platforms, I did the Super Nintendo. I did a lot of stuff on the Super Nintendo, but I called out Demon's Crest for my Secret Santa game in particular. Final Fantasy XIV, so the category rules, which we'll talk about in a minute, specified different launchers and platforms on the PC counted. The PC was not one catch-all platform. So I play FF14. There is a Steam version, but I do play it from the independent launcher, which caused some problems when I wanted to get it put on my Steam Deck, but that's a whole nother thing. It was a benefit here because I was able to count it. I used it for my MMO and multiplayer wins. Yacht Dice for the Archipelago was an in-browser game. So that does count as a different platform. That's 3. 4 was the N64. Indiana Jones for my racing games, or my race games, excuse me. Also Cruising for my racing least like genre game. Steam, again, as its own platform. Helldivers 2 for the collab. Also Neon White, and probably a couple other things as well. The GameCube for my sports trash. NCAA 2004 on the GameCube. Actually on console, that and the N64 were my two like legit consoles. Kirby and the Amazing Mirror on the Game Boy Advance. 8 is Game Boy Color for River King, my trash game. One of the games I got achievements in was Dalmatians 3 on the PlayStation 2. And then the 10th platform was the Nintendo DS for Metroid Prime Hunters. So 10 platforms, done and dusted. As a category, so I like this conceptually. I like that it makes you split stuff up. I know Yemo kept referencing this as the N64 Shuffler Killer, which I think is a little bit mean. I think the Shuffler was a fun idea. But I get it. I think it's good to want to split people up, and like for me, if you are asking me to pick games on a list, a lot of what I pick is going to come from like the Super Nintendo and the N64, because those are just the consoles that I played the most on. So making me step away and do other things is in theory good. I think there's a little bit of sort of rules lawyering with the PC platforms, which I think is fine because there are so many games on the PC, and like if you really get like in the weeds about it, are you calling like emulators on the PC just a PC platform, or right, like you can take this too far. I think it's fine to be much more open about it. It directly benefited me and other people as well, I'm sure. So I think that's fine. I think in the spirit of 10 game platforms, even though it says 10, like it's not to say like you have to have 10 different consoles. It's that like just play a variety of things, right? Like the way that I see it is like I am encouraging you to play on a variety of different systems, and that's good. That's good. I will say, it is a good thing that I don't like the Chivo goal. Spoiler alert. We'll talk about it later. But it's a good thing that this was here as kind of a catch-all, because the one thing that I will say negatively about this is it would be very easy for you to find yourself in a situation, especially like me, right? I was planning to only do bronze bingo and then expanded that later to like, I could have found myself in a situation where like I have most of my goals done and I don't have platforms. I'm at like 5 platforms. What do I do, right? So like, yeah, you can like get a point, achieve a singular Chivo on a platform, and like technically that's part of it. I think, you know, at the end of the day, I think Yimo was pretty lenient on stuff. So like, probably even if you finished everything else, if you just like streamed yourself playing, you know, not for just like 5 minutes, but like if you just streamed yourself playing something on the NES and you hadn't played something on the NES and it's still in the month of December, like that's probably okay. But like, it wasn't explicitly written that way. So like my one qualm about this is like, this is theoretically a missable goal, or like it requires planning. Which, you know, if your personal goals in the event change, that can get you in trouble. So I don't think I can give it an A, but I like the sentiment behind the goal. I think it's a fine goal. Next is mini friendathon. So I did 5 golden pigs, which was kind of funny. I did the Jack Cup of F-Zero X, which was in the friendathon from a couple of years ago. And then I did 16 star, which a couple of people have done runs of. I posted this in my own submissions channel earlier. I was not satisfied with my mini friendathon. My intention was to come back to it, but I just ran out of time. I think overall it was yeah, you know, it was fine. I think so. I struggle with this goal overall because I loved the first friendathon, like had a blast doing it. I did like the whole thing and did like the same day race with Yimo and SG. And then Rio also like played a bunch of the games, but I think was just like traveling the day of the race or something. It was just really cool to learn like shorter, more approachable goals. But the thing is, we had a month to do that, and that was the only thing we were doing. I think for an event where you're already doing all of this other stuff, trying to work in even a mini friendathon is a huge ask. Even if it's like 3 games, shorter categories, whatever, like it's just to really like learn speedruns and then like execute them in a race and then maybe do like another one to improve or something. Like it's just a lot, man. So I think I'm going to score this goal low, not because I don't like the friendathon. I really like the friendathon. But I think in an event like this, I think a lot of people skipped it. A lot of people just didn't put a lot of effort into it, me included. I'm definitively in that category. This was an afterthought for me, fully admit it. But I think it just like, you got me doing all this other stuff, and I gotta become proficient in speedrunning a bunch of games I don't know. Like, that's a big ask, man. I think friendathon is great on its own. I don't think it's good for an event like this. Maybe that's just copium because I'm personally pleased with my performance. Like I said, I did watch Captain's. Once I saw they did Super Metroid, I watched the whole thing, and Captain did like 3 games plus Minesweeper. Saying plus Minesweeper because that's the game that he already knew. I think he even had it listed as like Detox Minesweeper or something, which was kind of funny. And so like props if you like, I think at least out of the people that I had watched, I think that was like the most honest attempt at it that I had seen. And even he said multiple times throughout that like he wished that like he was not satisfied, that he like was kind of frustrated with not making as much progress as he has hoped, and that kind of thing. So I think it's just a lot. Okay, sports trash is next. I did NCAA 2004, which is American football, but college American football. So the division below the NFL, if you will. Ended up playing a full season. I owned this on GameCube. I owned a later version on Xbox, but GameCube is just easier for me to find and get hooked up. So I got that running, and it was fun to go back to it made me feel ancient to go back to a now 20-year-old football game that I had played as a kid, but it was a good time for sure. It was old enough that like mechanically it's a little bit broken. There were some very questionable moments throughout, but it made for good watching. There were some dramatic finishes. I played it on just kind of medium difficulty, not too difficult. So I ended up, I didn't go undefeated. I lost one game, but there were still some tight finishes, some clutch moments. I had like a triple overtime game that I won because they fumbled like as they were going into the end zone to score, and I recovered the fumble and won the game. So it was fun. The one thing I would say about it is it ended up being a little longer than I would have hoped for going in. I did it over the course of 2 streams, and it was like, I don't know exactly how long, probably like 7 or 8 hours, maybe a little more. Longer than I would have wanted for a single goal like this. Ideally, you pick something like that's got like a tournament mode, like a soccer game where you can just like play the World Cup, or like a basketball game where you can play like the playoff, or like a pro sports game where you can like play the playoffs or something. As opposed to like playing an entire season, which was like 12 games or something like that. But still good. It's still very fun. Good to go back to. I like this as a category. I think a lot of the people who were in this event are like pretty comfortable with sports. Not necessarily everybody, but like I think it's funny to have something like this because the stereotype is like your average gamer is gonna be like, oh, what's this sports ball? I don't know the rules. I don't watch any of whatever. So like kind of in the same vein as like least favorite genre of like this could be someone's least favorite genre as well, right? And so like forcing something like this is kind of funny. You still get free. There's all kinds of sports games. There's like, I think sports trash, maybe there was a little bit of confusion over like what really constitutes sports trash. I don't think anything was in danger of being like denied or anything. It's like, don't play like Mario Tennis or something like that, I guess, is like maybe the one exception. Something that like is genuinely beloved still. Maybe don't do that, but like I think beyond that, like if it's sports adjacent, you can make a case for it being sports trash. It doesn't, I don't think it necessarily even needs to be a trash game to be sports trash. It's like the football game that I played was 20 years old. It was fine. It was not like trash, but it was certainly sports trash. So it was not one of my favorite goals by any stretch, but I like it being here. I think it's a B. I'm good with that. 12 hours in a day. So I did a whole bunch of stuff over the course of 12 hours. We can talk through it here. So I did my gold medal. I got the neon white PB. I did my harder roguelike, which was Hades. I played a game I haven't in 5+ years, which was FTL, least favorite genre. I had an ill-fated attempt at Legend of the River King before giving up and then just swapping to sports trash for the last like 4 hours or so. Oh, and I didn't stream it, but Kirby and the Amazing Mirror also was at the beginning of that day. So I am generally I have good and bad feelings about this goal. 12 hours is a lot. I know there was no mention that all or any of it had to be on stream. I think there was a sort of expectation that at least some of it would be like, you'd be like at least announcing what you were doing, or like maybe being in a Discord call to like just like, again, this is a friend event. Like, there's not a lot of hard proof calling going on outside of the upcoming trial, which fair. But I think, I think a lot of people streamed it, and like 12 hours is just a lot. Like, sure, you've got an entire month to set aside one day, and there are a stretch of holidays where like some of your holidays are going to be, busy with plans probably, but like surely you've got like a Saturday or whatever your day off is, or a holiday vacation day or whatever, where you could like log on and like spend a day, or like Emo said, it just has to be over a 24-hour period, so you could do a night and a morning or something like that if you had back to back, like yeah. I know that it's a lot, and it might not be people's cup of tea to just like, I know for me, I was physically drained by the time I was done. I went for longer than 12 hours, but I'm also a moron, so take that at face value. I think it was good to do. I knocked out, like I just said, I knocked out so many goals. This day is what pushed me over. I was initially just going to do bronze. This day pushed me over into being like, well, I've done so much, I could probably do the rest of the gold as well. So like, I like it in that sense, but like, it's all 12 hours is a big ask, man. Like, I get it. We're basically all like, degens here, and that's fine, but like, what if you weren't, I guess that's just whataboutism, but like, I don't know. I don't think I can score this too highly, because I it's something that you can just do while doing other stuff, and you can probably do so many things at once that like you can get it done. Like it helps you to just knock out the bingo board, because it certainly did for me. So I don't know. I think I just put it in the middle here. Okay, Chivos. I played 3 games for retro achievements. I played Dalmatians 3 for the PS2, which I found out about by doing a Google search for easy games to get a lot of retro Chivo points in. And Dalmatians 3 came up. I think it was like PAL only. It's like based around like, it's not like the 101 Dalmatians movie. It's just like a movie that's called Dalmatians 3, I think. And it's like, the movie is on the PS2 disc. It's, I don't know. It's lots of questionable things. Oh, music stop. Let's keep it going. Music stopped, which means I've been going for far too long. Okay. But anyways, Dalmatians 3 was a collection of like sliding puzzles and puzzles, and there was like some other kind of game, dice game maybe, something, but it's like it's like 25 Chivo points for like every puzzle that you solved, and once you know the trick for sliding block puzzles, they're like super free. So I just knocked out like 300 points in that game or something like that. And then moved to Kirby Superstar and Super Metroid. Just did like a playthrough of both, which got me the last like 200 points that I needed. Finished with exactly 500 points, which I was happy with. As a goal, I'm not a Chivo gamer. I know they exist, and I'm not trying to like say that they're wrong for liking them. I think a lot of retro Chivos are bad. There's a whole lot of trash on that website of like, beat this boss damageless, or like, make it through this room on your first time without taking damage, or else you have to restart the game just to try this Chivo one more time. Like, man, who cares, man? Who cares? I think it's funny. Chivos are kind of a meme. I'm not trying to act too cool for school, because like I was a Chivo gamer back in like the 360 days. I didn't get like too deep into it, but I definitely like went Chivo hunting for sure. But back in those days, like there were oftentimes like, I mean, not often, but sometimes there were like in-game rewards you got for like, I remember doing like some of the Halo 3 Chivos gave you like different armors you could unlock in the game or that kind of thing, you know. It was a different time. Back in my day, super boomer take incoming. But 500, it was a lot on its face, to be fair. Like I think the strat, there are two angles here. Either you play a whole bunch of consoles because you're trying to bump up your 10 games list, or you just pick games that you are like already know and are proficient in, and you just hope that they have like a bundle of points that you can get from a playthrough. I think SG did like SMRPG. I got like a ton of points from that. That's what I did with Kirby Superstar and Super Metroid. So, you know, I think there are different approaches to it. It did not, I did it in an evening. It did not have to be like a major time sink. But it does, I think it does require some planning if you just like sort of approach it without a plan and are just like, what can I get Chivo points in? Like you play a game for a while, you get like 10 points or something, and you feel like you've kind of wasted your time a little bit. I'm putting it in C. I don't think it's as bad as these for the event. Like I think in the grand scheme of the event, I think it's fine. But for me personally, I don't love it. So we'll dock it some, but not all the way. Sync time in an MMO, Final Fantasy 14 is my drug of choice. I've been playing it prior to this. I will keep playing it after this. I'm just at a snail's pace working my way through the main story, but having a really good time with it and doing a bunch of just like side optional stuff. I'm leveling a ton of jobs. I'm doing just random weeklies or whatever. You know, it's not the kind of game that I sit down and play every single day, but definitely boot it up a couple times a week and have a good time with it. I neglected to take a starting screenshot, so I don't know exactly how much I played this month, which I'm a little bit sad about. Just didn't even think about doing it, but I have played it enough days and enough time over those days to, I have no issue claiming that I have truly sunk time into it and not a what was Emo's wording in the thing, like a naughty little leak or something. It was a full-time sink for sure. Now, as a goal, don't like it. We're just gonna go ahead and drop it in D. Like, I already play an MMO, so that's great. I was able to just keep doing what I was doing. If I did not, I'm not an MMO gamer. Like, what the hell do I do with this, man? Like, I think this is, like, MMOs are such a unique kind of game that, like, if you are not an MMO adjacent person, like, you can't just ask somebody to like play one. I know that like the time requirement was like up to you, right? Like you determine what is truly sinking time. So like if I hate MMOs, I could boot it up for an hour and be like, man, I just wasted that hour and I've sunk that time. You know, like you can cheese it. You could theoretically cheese all kinds of these goals, but like I don't think this is good on the whole. I think for the most part, most of the people who are in this play MMOs of some variety, so like it's not a huge lift, but I don't like this as a goal. And then the last one is play a game you haven't played in 5 years. Tea break. So I played FTL, which, as much trash as I was talking about roguelikes earlier, is a roguelike. But I like it. I like it for the gameplay, like the actual moment-to-moment gameplay, and not the overall like doing an individual run and failing and starting again structure, right? Like I did say that earlier. Like the ones that I like in spite of the roguelike attributes. FTL is a space game where you are controlling a crew who is controlling a ship, and they are manning all aspects of that ship, and like you run into other enemies. So some of your crew might be on shields, some of them might be on weapons, but then in that battle, the enemy might hit you with a missile that creates a breach in your hull, and you've got to like send your crew. You've got to like sort of RTS micro your crew over to go like fix that. But the breach is sucking all the oxygen out, and so like you can't leave them in there for too long. So like it's a game that like there are periods where nothing is happening and you're able to kind of breathe and sort of make your decisions on how you want to build your ship and what you want to buy and how you want to spend your resources. And then there are other situations where it's just chaos and like half of your ship's on fire and there's an enemy boarding party and you're like locking the doors and like opening the airlocks to try to suck their oxygen out, and like just also your ships are just shooting at each other while this is going on. You're trying to manage like all this stuff. It's really, really fun. It's just like complete chaos. It's not a game that I'm very good at. I didn't finish a run when I was playing it, which is a little bit unfortunate, but it was very fun to go back to it. I had a really good time with it, and actually went back to play it again since, just as a like, I've got like an hour to kill, let me just like boot up FTL and like play around with it, and probably will again because I had forgotten how fun it was. So on that note, I think this is a phenomenal category. It's kind of like unfinished business. You know, we've all got games that we have played before and have loved before, and just haven't played for whatever reason. And it was a very fun exercise. So I did this by going back through the Steam library. I have my spreadsheet of games, but it only goes back for like, I only have like 4 years of history. This will be the 5th year, and so like I was like just not enough to be able to like look back through that spreadsheet for it. So I went to Steam and just sorted by like last played time, and so FTL was like 2016 or something like that. It was fun like scrolling through and like finding it. Like as soon as I scrolled down and saw it, I was like, oh yeah, this is absolutely what I'll play. I love this game. Of course I want to play it again. So I think it's really cool to like, without this goal being in this event, I still would not like, it would be 5 more years before I thought to go back and play it. So like making you kind of complete that exercise and come up with what that game is, for me was super cool. And just fun to see again what other people have come up with for this. So I'm gonna put this in S. As with every event, yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It broke the capture a little bit, but nothing major. There we go. It's centered again. So with all of these events, it was always very fun to do it, of course, but also to watch other people do it and see what other people were coming up with. There were a lot of people doing it. I think, personal opinion, I think Yimo was a little surprised by the participation. Pleasantly surprised, of course. Very cool to see how many people hopped in and like went with it. When I watched the initial reveal of this, the VOD of the initial reveal of it, it seemed huge. It seemed like I said, I was only planning to do bronze. Work was a little crazy at the beginning of the month, and then I knew I was traveling over Christmas, and so like I didn't think that I would be able to like have enough time to do it because it seemed like so much, but seeing so many people come in and knock it out was really, really fun to see. I was not intending for this to be as balanced of a tier list as it is, but that's kind of cool. Definitely pleased with it. There was a good mix. There was a lot of really good goals. There was a lot of goals that maybe I didn't care for, but enjoyed what I did. Because right, like even these, I think the friendathon is the only one that I like the friendathon. I just didn't like it in the context of this event, and I didn't like what I did for it. But even these, like FF14, pigs with the boys, both of those were fun things. So yeah. Trying to think if there was anything else that I wanted to say. I've been talking for too long already. This is probably the longest recap that I've done, but you know, A, it was a lot of stuff, and B, this was not just a tier list, it was an adventure log. Like I was trying to be intentional about, because I'm not writing anything up, trying to be intentional about really talking through everything that I'm doing, or everything that I did. So, let me just scroll through. I think that's it. Like I did mention, I think highlight for me was the fighting game event for sure. The mystery fighting game tournament was a fantastic time. I think favorite new game that I played was probably easily Demon's Crest for the Secret Santa game. Shout outs to Crazy, excellent choice. Yeah, I think like I mentioned kind of earlier, I think the theme with all of these goals that I really liked, it felt like a theme of this event was I'm not gonna say forcing you, but like giving you avenues to do things with your friends. Of maybe it's playing games, maybe it's racing games, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's just hanging out on a call. We technically played a game for pigs, but it was really just a day of hanging out on a call. And so I think it was highly successful at doing that, and it was very fun. It was very fun. Good time of year for it too. I don't think I have any other big thoughts. I'm gonna not talk for a while now and enjoy my New Year's. I hope everyone enjoys theirs as well. If you're watching the VOD, then it's probably already happened. So Happy New Year. In the past, I have done a Resident Evil stream on New Year's Day. As just kind of a fun New Year's tradition. I just played it for 30 for 30, so I don't think I'm gonna do it tomorrow. Also, that's like 5 hours, and I don't really think I should be on the microphone for 5 hours unless I just feel substantially better tomorrow. So probably not. Probably no stream tomorrow. But I'm always down to get baited into anything. I say it all the time, so you never know. Other than that, N64 Mania does come back on Friday, so if I don't see you before then, I'll see you then. I don't even know what we're doing. We'll figure it out. But thanks to Yemo for putting this together, putting it on. It was really fun. It was a really, really well thought out event, a well planned event, a lot of good different things in it, and a lot of stuff that was kind of off the beaten path that you typically see in events like this, which is cool, which is very cool. Beyond that, that's what I got. Thanks for watching, and yeah, take it easy, be good. Have a happy new year. We'll see you around.